Welcome to this explainer. Today we aren't just looking at some random day on the calendar. We're going to unpack a single date that is, honestly, an incredible microcosm of human progress, innovation, and struggle. We're looking at exactly why August 16 matters today. Because when you peel back the layers of history, you quickly realize that the modern world we live in, it's built on these massive milestones that all somehow magically collided on this exact same day, just across different centuries.
So let me ask you this. What do the massive economic frenzy of the Klondike Gold Rush, the publication of the very first issue of Sports Illustrated, and the chemist who created Coca-Cola all have in common? I know, it kind of sounds like the setup to a weird trivia joke, right? But the answer actually unlocks the origins of our entire modern consumer culture.
Okay, let's just dive right into it. The answer? They all share the exact same date on the calendar. August 16. It is absolutely fascinating how one specific rotation of the Earth around the Sun has been the stage for so many foundational moments in our modern world. I mean, from the way we communicate to the things we buy, the things we consume, and what we fight for. August 16 is a day just packed with history.
Section 1. Connecting the modern world. The rapid evolution of global links.
You and I totally take instant communication and rapid travel for granted today, right? But getting here took immense leaps of technology. And surprisingly, several of those leaps happened right here on this date. Back in 1858, U.S. President James Buchanan inaugurated the new transatlantic telegraph cable by exchanging greetings with Queen Victoria. Now, sure, a weak signal forced a shutdown of the service just a few weeks later, but still, this was literally the dawn of instant global communication. Then, jump forward to 1944, and we see the first flight of a jet with forward-swept wings, the Junkers Ju-287. And then, we hit the space age in 1960, when Joseph Kittinger parachuted from a balloon over New Mexico.
Now, to really wrap your head around the sheer, breathtaking scale of what Kittinger did, just consider the altitude, 102,800 feet. That's over 31,300 meters high. He leaped from a balloon at the absolute edge of space, setting 3 incredible records that held all the way until 2012. We're talking the high-altitude jump, the longest freefall, and the highest speed ever achieved by a human without an aircraft. It is just a massive testament to our relentless drive to push beyond our earthly boundaries.
Moving on to Section 2. Shaping global pop culture. The things we consume.
So, we've talked about how we connect, but what about the stuff we consume? Our modern economy and our entire culture of entertainment actually have deep, deep roots buried in this specific date, and it marks a really fascinating contrast between an end and a beginning. See, on August 16, 1888, the American pharmacist and chemist John Pemberton passed away. He's the guy who invented Coca-Cola, which is arguably one of the most recognized global consumer brands in human history. Now compare that closing chapter to August 16, 1954, which marks the publication of the very first issue of Sports Illustrated. That was the literal birth of modern sports media as we know it, shaping how millions of us would consume entertainment for decades to come.
But well before modern media or global brands, this intense culture of instant wealth really shaped North America. In 1896, 3 individuals, Skookum Jim Mason, George Carmack, and Dawson Charlie, discovered gold in a tributary of the Klondike River in Canada. And this singular, massive event set off the legendary Klondike Gold Rush. It was basically an economic explosion that forever altered the landscape and the culture of North America, drawing thousands upon thousands of people into the harsh wilderness in search of instant wealth. It truly spread like wildfire.
Section 3. The fight for human rights. The human cost of progress. As we know, history isn't just some highlight reel of triumphs. It's so often forged in the fires of civil unrest and tragedy. And a grim example of this is the Peterloo Massacre. On August 16, 1819, a public meeting was held at St. Peter's Field in Manchester, England, and it ended in absolute tragedy when cavalry charged directly into the gathered crowd. 17 people died and over 600 were injured. It stands today as a very pivotal, sobering moment in the historical fight for civil liberties and representation.
In fact, August 16 has frequently been a flashpoint for conflict around the globe. Back in 1841, after U.S. President John Tyler vetoed a banking bill that called for the reestablishment of the Second Bank of the United States, enraged Whig Party members actually rioted right outside the White House. To this day, it remains the most violent demonstration on White House grounds in U.S. history. Decades later, in 1929, tensions exploded into the Palestine riots in Mandatory Palestine. Those clashes continued until the end of the month, ultimately leaving 133 Jews and 116 Arabs dead. And even in the 21st century, this date carries a heavy weight. In 2012, South African police fatally shot 34 striking miners and wounded 78 more during an industrial dispute at Marikana near Rustenburg.
4,000. That is the stark, truly devastating number of people killed in just a 72-hour span when mass riots began in Kolkata, India on this exact day in 1946. It is a staggering, solemn reminder of the immense human toll that political and social fractures can exact on a society.
But you know, the fight for rights on this day also includes moments of profound, hard-won progress. In 1975, Australian Prime Minister Gough Whitlam symbolically handed over land to the indigenous Gurunji people. This followed the grueling 8-year-long Wave Hill Walk-Off. It was a true landmark event in the history of indigenous land rights in Australia, an act of restorative justice that is actually still commemorated with an annual celebration to this very day.
Section 4. The Legacy of August 16. History in the Making.
So, we've traced the dots, right? From the first transatlantic telegraph to the absolute edge of space, from the Klondike Gold Rush to the creation of global pop culture, and through the very real, often painful struggles for human rights. And all of this, it brings us directly back to you, right now. As this explainer has shown, a single date isn't just a square on a calendar. It's a deeply layered archive of our collective human experience. Every single day contains centuries of triumphs and tragedies. We are constantly building upon the foundation of what happened on this very date, decades and centuries ago. So I'm going to leave you with this thought to ponder. What history is being written on August 16th today? Thank you so much for tuning in, and as always, keep learning.